We had some crazy times in the market today. It started out very low today, and let's just see how that affected ULTY, MSTY, and a few other stocks that I have. And then we'll also check out my swing trades. Hello, my friends, this is Legend. So, the market fell today at open, right? It was down huge. That did trigger a couple of my stops on a few of my other stocks, and that also triggered a buy for ULTY. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at MSTY and a few of the other swing trades that we've been talking about on the videos. So let's just go ahead and jump right over into the Webull chart and let's check it out. All right, so here we are on the Webull chart. I'm just going to start off right here with SPY just to show you how far the market did drop over the weekend and the fact it was closed on Monday. So on Friday, we closed at 645.05, and today we opened at 637.50. Woo, goodness gracious. Boy, it fell, didn't it? And we'll come back to this and I'll show you what I did for a quick day swing trade on this one. But let's just go ahead and jump right over into MSTY and ULTY and let's see how this drop affected those. All right, so here we are on MSTY, and looky, we're up 2% for the day. Very nice, right? Looks like Friday we closed at 1550. Today we opened at 1550. We went as low as at 1542 and as high as 1605. Nice. Wow. That is crazy, right? But then we did end up closing at 1581. Love it. Now the one thing that I forgot to take a look at today, and that was that $19 put. Right? I do want to see about rolling that put out, and I may end up having to roll it out to the end of the year / first of next year so that I can roll this thing way on down, right? Right now it's at a $19 strike, and if I rolled that thing down maybe to the end of the year, I might can roll it down $1 or $2, right? And we can take a quick look at that just to get an idea. Now this is aftermarket. The amounts won't be 100% correct, but you'll get the idea. So here we are on the options, and let's look at the end of the year. And it looks like we don't have anything for November or December yet, but there is one for January. So let's just open that up just to see. All right, so it's not showing too many trades here, and we can extend that by going here, and let's just do it for 50, right? There we go. Now we're showing a total of about 50 trades. Now it's so far out that the dollar values, they're jumping around a little bit as far as in the strikes. Looks like after about 14, it goes down to 10 and then 5, right? But currently I'm at a $19 strike for September, right? Mid-September expiration date. So I could technically keep it at that 19 and earn the difference, right? And that difference would be whatever I get here versus what I would have to pay to close the other one. And we can look real quick at that by going to that September 19th. And I can look at the $19 strike. And that looks like about a $3.20 needed to close that position. So we would have to subtract that $3.20 from the one that we would open, right? So keep in mind the $3.20, and let's go back to this one, the end of January, and $3.20. If I was to roll it at that same strike, I could get around $6.50, right? And that would be $3.30 profit for that strike there. But that's keeping it at that $19 strike. Or I can roll it down. At 18, I can get $5.60. At 17, I can get $4.65. And heck, I could even drop it down to $16 because that one has a mid price of about $3.90 and it cost me $3.20 to close the previous one. So I would clear about 70 cents per share times 100 shares for one contract, and that would be $70, right? So I could earn $70 for rolling this all the way down to $16. But now I am rolling it all the way out to January, right, of 2026. So I'm rolling this thing out for about 4 months. So for me, I would be looking to roll this down as much as I could. So I could possibly roll it down to $16 strike from a $19 strike. So that's $3 worth back in my account. Because since it's a cash account, it's holding that $1,900. So if I roll it to a 16, it's going to put $300 back in my cash balance there. And I'm going to earn about 70 cents per share. I could potentially put into my account $370, right? And rolling it all the way back to $16. But that does roll it all the way out to January. So the idea would be is by January, it's up above 16, and then that put would expire worthless. And therefore, I would not be on the hook for 100 shares at a $16 strike. And currently at a $19 strike, right? So I'm really kind of sad I didn't remember to look at this. I did check the price and I was waiting to see if it was going to drop below that 10. So I was looking to possibly buy some shares, but I completely forgot about the put. I think that market drop just kind of really messed with my mind just a little bit, and I was looking to see what all I could buy, right? I wasn't even thinking about that MSTY put. But man, if I'd have saw that, I definitely would have rolled it down to $16 and put $70 back in my pocket, right along with the $300 by dropping that strike price. Man, I wish I'd have saw that. But maybe tomorrow will give me another chance to do that. So let's go back to the chart. Now, as you can see, I still have that covered call, and that's that $25 covered call for mid-September. And again, I'm not too worried about it getting to that, although wouldn't it be great if it did? I would not mind it at all. How about you? I know you wouldn't mind it either. Now, this is all, of course, the actual chart, right? This is the actual candle movements. Now, let's flip it over to the adjusted, and let's see where it sits on the Bollinger Band and the RSI. All right, so here we are on the Bollinger Band. And as you can see, we are still on that bottom half of that Bollinger Band. Now, I'd prefer it to be a red candle to buy, right? But it did start off red because it opened at 1550 and it went as low as 1542 before it started moving back up. You can see that the momentum here is dropping off of that negative side. That's a great sign. We got that MACD is getting really close to that signal line. We would love to see a nice cross on that and start moving this bad boy up. And the RSI is up. So therefore, I did not purchase any of MSTY today, but was really excited to see a green candle for today. Now let's check out MSTR and let's see where it sets. I'm sure it's going to look pretty close to MSTY. Here we are on MSTR, and you can see, again, bottom half of that Bollinger Band, and the RSI 2, which is that yellow line, is moving up. So therefore, I did not purchase any of MSTR either. Now, as far as some support lines and resistance lines, let's turn on our lines here and let's just see where we're setting. Okay, so I've turned my lines back on, and you can see we've got this blue line right here, and we were using that as that support line. As you can see, it did bounce off of it here. We did cut through it, but we came back up. We've tested it several times, and we tested it again on Friday. Well, today it opened pretty much right there at that line and then went up, right? After it went down first thing this morning. So far, it's respecting this support line, and I'm glad to see that. You can see that it ended up opening today at 334.93. It got as high as 348.60. Nice, right? Goodness gracious. but it did get as low as 331.57 before closing at 341.62. And you can see in the after hours, we're sitting at about 343.38. So for today, it was up 2.16%. Come on, you got to get excited about that, right? Come on. And of course, what moved it for today and why did it drop earlier this morning? Well, let's just take a look at Bitcoin because I'm sure it had something to do with it. And here we are on Bitcoin. I mean, look at this. Woo! What a wick on the bottom of that one, right? But a wick on the bottom, that is a bullish sign. That means the buyers are in the house right in here, right? And we love to see that. But it ended up going as low as 108.4K. Wow. I mean, it dropped, right? And we can look at the 5-minute chart and you can see this, right? But I'll tell you, notice also that we had this line at this 108 area, and you can see it did come down, test it. It tested it here, and it tested it, but it did end up closing just slightly below it. But of course, then the next day, it jumped off of it, right? And went up. Then today we came down, and we got close to testing it again before moving up. So both of these here are very nice bullish signs. We got the momentum here decreasing on that red side. Love to see that. And we've got this MACD here starting to move up, and hopefully we can get a little bit more movement and we can start crossing over that signal line. That would be awesome. Now let's take a look at ULTY. And here we are on ULTY. As you can see, we closed on Friday at 567 and we opened today at 558. Well, remember my limit buy that I had over here at 560? And I said that after opening, if it looked like it was going to be moving down, that I would probably move it down to that 555 and keep the 550 here. Well, it opened at 558. So you know what happened. At opening, it executed and it purchased me those 25 shares. So that one went through and that put 25 more shares into my account at around that 560, right? Now it looks like it got as low here as 553. So it got really close to executing this one as well, that 550. Didn't quite get there though. We needed another 3-cent drop and then it would have purchased another 25 shares at the 550. But it looks like we got down to that point and then we shot back up and we ended up going as high as 572 today. A very nice move on ULTY. Now, it is showing a red number here, right? But you got to understand that is red because the close of Friday was at 567 and then the close of today being 563, right? So it closed under the close of the previous candle. Therefore, you have a red number. But that does not mean it was a red day, right? Because as you can see, we had a green candle because even though it closed at that 567, we had that drop over the weekend and it opened at 558. So that's the reason why it's a green candle, because it closed higher than it opened, but it's showing a red number because it closed the previous candle at a higher price than the close of this candle, right? So I hope that makes sense. But you can see here that we do seem to be trying to respect this line here, even though this is a ETF that contains several different stocks, right? It's very difficult to really chart it, but we can try. It probably won't mean much, but it is something just to keep an eye on, right? You can see we had that line here. We did test it here. We did end up testing it here as well. And it looks like we opened right pretty close on that line today before moving on up. So I like how the move was today. It was a very nice move. It purchased me at 560 area and it actually moved up. So therefore, I should show my account pretty close to being in the green on ULTY, because those extra 25 shares should have brought me down below this price for my average. And we'll update that chart later just to see where I'm actually setting. Very exciting times, guys. Love to see a green, and I love to see this thing move on back up closer to that $6. All right, so I think that's about all for the YieldMax ones, but I do want to talk about my swing trades. And we will start right off with my swing trade that I did today, and that was on SPY. I actually sold a put. I saw this huge drop over the weekend, right? I saw it open way down here, and it opened at that 637.50 compared to the close of Friday being 645.05. And I saw that drop and it was like down $8, right? And I thought, wow, I don't see it moving down too much further than that, but I could be wrong, right? And it did end up going as low as 634.92. So I ended up trying to play this one a tad bit more safe. Normally on these daily SPYs, I'll trade something at around a 30 delta because I don't mind getting assigned those shares, and then I'm looking to sell that call on that next round, right? And I'm doing daily on the SPY. And as you can see right here, I went a little safer and I did 634 put. At least I thought that was safer, right? But you can see it ended up actually going as low as 634.92. Even though I was at a 20 delta, it moved further down after I had already got that put, right? And it came actually down close to that put. So surprisingly enough, that put was actually getting close to being challenged. But it didn't last long, did it? It actually ended up moving back up and ended up closing at 640.27. So nowhere near my put right here. And for this put here, I earned about $70 for writing that put. Now I know that's not a whole lot considering how much I put into it, right? But if I'm looking to be able to own those shares at around that price, and then in hopes to be able to sell a call at a few dollars higher than that price, say at 637 or 635 or 636, then I can make that price appreciation along with the additional premium and do it all in a matter of a couple of days, right? Now do keep in mind, if I would have been assigned this one up here at that 645 that I had, if that one had been assigned, and it wasn't because it closed at 645.05, so it's 5 cents away from being assigned. Now, if that would have been assigned, I would have owned 100 shares at 645, and then today's open being 637.50, ouch, right? I could have probably still sold a call at about that 645 price, but I probably would have only made maybe $20, right? And that would have been only once it moved up to the top up here, right? Close to the end of the day. And I probably had to go out a day, right? I doubt I would have been able to sell a ZERO DTE with a price this low, right? I would have had to at least go out till tomorrow and then sell a 645. And like I said, that probably would have got me maybe $20, $30. But that's still money coming into my pocket, and it's a stock that I don't mind owning, right? Because over time, it does go up. Because as we've looked at before, this is the 5-year chart of the SPY. It goes up. Not guaranteed to continually to move up, but over time, history shows that it does go up. So that's why I don't mind owning the SPY. So that was my day trade, I guess you can call it, for SPY. And now let's look at Coca-Cola and Walmart that we've been working with for the last few days. And here we are on Coca-Cola. And as you can see, my average being 68.79 with 6 shares. It ended up dropping pretty low today, and as low as 68.26 and went as high as 69.34, but ended up closing at 69.06. So we are just above the average right now. But since it did run through that MA5 right here, now zoomed in here, you can see that green line, that's that MA5. That's going to be my stop price, right? But I need a candle to live up and above that MA5. Now, once it does, then I can set it right here at that MA5 and move up with it as it moves up, right? The idea is, of course, to set it above my average so that I am locking in a win, even if it's a small win, right? But you can see we did have a nice green volume bar here. We have the MACD here is flattening out some, and we do see a little decrease in the red momentum bars here. RSI here still kind of pretty flat, right? It's sitting at 46.21, so it's got plenty of room to move up. So for KO, I'm still at a hold. I did not purchase and I have not set a stop. Now for Walmart, I've got a total of 5 shares at $96 per share on average. We did end up closing today at $97.85. A very nice move up, and we've got a nice wick on the bottom. Now I'm hoping that just tells us that there's a good bit of buyers right here, right? This whole area right here is probably some buyers that's going to help push this up. So if tomorrow, if we get a green candle and it stays up above it and it does not touch that MA5, then I'll be looking to set my stop on that MA5. And depending on that candle is depending on where I set it, right? I may set it right here, and you can see this number right over here, MA5. I can set it right there at 96.61, or I can set it right back here to give it a little extra room to breathe at 96.26. And both of those are above my $96 even, and therefore that would turn to be a winning trade if it did come down and kick me out. We see that the momentum bars are decreasing and the RSI is moving up from 43 to 47, right? So that's a nice move up. Would love to see this thing continually moving up so that I can set my stop and start moving that stop on up with the price. I would love to see it get back to the midpoint right here at around 99.93. That would be great. Won't hurt my feelings any if it would get back up to the top of the Bollinger Band, right, at 105. But I'll be patient, and I will hold off for now on setting my stop, as that candle here did go through that MA5. As you can see right there, with me turning the MAs back on. You can see that candle wick, it does go through MA5 right here. I will be patient and wait for tomorrow and see how tomorrow plays out. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. It was a very exciting day today with that drop on the SPY right here. What a drop. And I took advantage of it by selling a put and capturing some quick money. So not too bad with that. If you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, smash the like button if you do enjoy this type of content. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.